Imagine losing your wife and your child in a single day, moving thousands of miles away to escape the memories, and then one day seeing someone who looks exactly like your wife. Hey everyone, welcome to Ryan Rivers, the channel where we explore the most gripping Reddit stories people have ever shared. The last normal day of my life started with spilled apple juice. My daughter Emma had just turned 2, and she had this habit of trying to pour things herself because she wanted to be a big girl. That morning, she grabbed the little plastic jug from the fridge and tipped it over before I could stop her. Apple juice flooded the kitchen floor. She froze, looked at me, big brown eyes. Then she whispered, "Uh-oh." My wife, Laura, burst out laughing from the doorway. "Congratulations," she said, crossing her arms. "Your daughter has officially entered her chaos phase." Emma pointed at me and said proudly, "Daddy clean!" And honestly, I didn't even mind. I grabbed some paper towels and knelt down while Emma tried to help, mostly just smearing the juice around. Laura leaned against the counter watching us, smiling that quiet smile she always had when she was happy, but pretending not to be emotional about it. At one point, she said, "You know, we should probably start thinking about preschool next year." Emma shouted, "No school!" We laughed. It was such a normal conversation, such a normal moment. If someone had told me that was the last morning we'd ever spend together as a family, I would have memorized every second of it. But life doesn't give you that warning. That afternoon, Laura took Emma to the grocery store, and they never came back. The police officer who knocked on my door looked about 19 years old. He kept adjusting his hat like he didn't know what to do with his hands. At first, I thought maybe someone had reported a stolen car in the neighborhood or something stupid like that. Then he asked, "Are you Daniel Carter?" And something inside my chest just dropped. There's a tone people use when they're about to change your life forever. I nodded. Another officer stepped forward. "Sir, there's been an accident." Everything after that felt like I was watching someone else's life. A drunk driver ran a red light on Harbor Drive. Laura's car never had a chance. They told me Emma died at the scene. Laura died at the hospital about an hour later. I remember sitting in the hospital hallway, staring at the floor tiles, thinking they must have mixed something up. Maybe the names were wrong. Maybe Laura was just unconscious. Maybe Emma was in surgery. My brain refused to process it. Then a nurse brought me Laura's wedding ring in a small plastic bag. And suddenly the world felt empty, like someone had turned the volume of reality down to zero. San Diego became unbearable after that. Every street had memories. The park where Emma took her first steps. The beach where Laura insisted we watch sunsets even when I said I was too tired. Our house was the worst. Emma's tiny shoes by the door. Laura's coffee mug still in the cabinet. I tried to live there for about 6 months. I really did. But grief is strange. It doesn't just make you sad. It makes the air heavy. It makes silence loud. Sometimes I'd walk into Emma's room and just sit on the floor staring at her stuffed animals for hours. Eventually, I realized something simple and terrible. If I stayed there, I was going to disappear. So I left. No real plan. I sold the house, quit my job, packed my life into 2 suitcases, and moved to Edmonton, Canada. Why Edmonton? Honestly, because it was far, cold, different. I figured if I was going to feel numb, I might as well do it somewhere that didn't constantly remind me of what I lost. For the next 3 years, I lived like a ghost. I worked at a small logistics company doing warehouse coordination. My routine was painfully simple. Wake up, go to work, come home, sit in silence, sleep, repeat. My coworkers tried to invite me out sometimes. "Hey Dan, we're grabbing beers after work." I always had the same answer. Maybe next time. There was never a next time. Making friends felt wrong somehow, like moving forward meant leaving Laura and Emma behind. So I stayed alone. The day everything changed again was a random Tuesday in February. Edmonton winters are brutal, but that afternoon the sun was actually out. I was walking downtown during my lunch break, hands stuffed into my coat pockets. And then I saw her. At first, my brain didn't even register what was happening. It was just a glimpse of someone across the street. Brown hair, familiar posture. Then she turned her head, and my heart stopped. It was Laura. Not similar, not kind of looks like her. It was her face. Same eyes, same shape of her smile. Even the way she tilted her head slightly when she listened to someone. For about 3 seconds, my mind completely broke. My first thought was, she's alive. I actually stepped into the street without looking. A car honked and I barely noticed. The woman crossed toward a coffee shop. I followed her inside. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely push the door open. She was standing in line at the counter, and when she turned around, the illusion shattered. Up close, the differences were clearer. Her voice when she said, "Sorry," as I accidentally bumped into her. A slightly different accent, tiny details. She wasn't Laura, not really. But the resemblance was so uncanny, it made my chest hurt. I mumbled, "Sorry," and walked out of the cafe immediately. I sat on a bench outside for 20 minutes, just staring at the snow. My heart wouldn't slow down. I kept replaying that moment in my head. Her face, her eyes. How could someone look that identical? For the rest of the day, I couldn't focus on anything. And for the first time in years, I felt something other than numbness. For the next 2 weeks, I kept thinking about her. Not in a romantic way, more like confusion. Like my brain was trying to solve a puzzle it didn't understand. Then, one evening after work, I saw her again. Same street, same coffee shop. It felt like the universe was pushing me towards something. I almost kept walking, but something inside me said, "If you don't do this, you'll regret it forever." So I went inside. She was sitting by the window with a laptop. I stood there awkwardly for a few seconds before saying, "Hey, this might sound strange, but we ran into each other here a couple weeks ago." She looked up and smiled politely. "Oh yeah, I remember. You looked like you'd seen a ghost." I laughed nervously. "Yeah, about that." I asked if I could sit down. She hesitated for a second, but said, "Sure." Her name was Claire. We talked for maybe 15 minutes, mostly small talk. Where we worked, how long we'd lived in Edmonton, but I could tell she was slightly confused about why I approached her. And honestly, I didn't know how to explain it. So I didn't. After that, though, we kept running into each other, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. Coffee turned into longer conversations. Longer conversations turned into occasional walks. At first, it was awkward. There was always this invisible tension hanging between us. Like we both knew something strange was happening, but weren't talking about it. Then one evening, everything exploded. We were sitting in the park near the river. Claire was scrolling through old photos on her phone, showing me pictures from a hiking trip. Then she said, "What about you? Do you have family?" My chest tightened. I hesitated, but eventually I pulled out my wallet. Inside was a small photo I'd carried for years. Laura holding Emma at the beach. Claire looked at the picture and went completely still. Her face turned pale. She looked from the photo back to me, then back to the photo again. "Oh my God," she whispered. I nodded slowly. That's why I looked like I saw a ghost. She leaned back in the bench like the air had been knocked out of her. "You didn't tell me," she said quietly. I didn't have a good answer. "I didn't want you to think that was the reason I talked to you." Her voice got sharper. "But it was the reason." I opened my mouth, then closed it again, because she was right, at least at the beginning. For a few days after that conversation, Claire stopped answering my messages, and honestly, I understood. If someone approached me because I looked exactly like their dead spouse, I'd probably run too. Then one evening my phone buzzed. A text from her. "Coffee tomorrow?" Claire told me something the next time we met. "I almost blocked your number," she admitted. I nodded. "Fair." "But then I thought about something," she said. "What?" She looked directly at me. "You never treated me like I was her." That sentence stayed with me, because it was true. Yes, the resemblance pulled me toward her, but the person I got to know was completely different. Claire was sarcastic, where Laura had been gentle. She loved winter sports. She hated the beach. She drank her coffee black and strong. Laura used enough cream to make it look like milk. Little by little, the tension faded. We kept talking. Then, we started actually spending time together. Real dates. Real laughter. The first time I realized I might actually be falling in love again scared the hell out of me. I went home that night and stared at Laura's photo for a long time. It felt like betrayal, like I was replacing her. But grief doesn't work like that. Love doesn't erase love. It just grows around it. Claire understood that better than anyone. Years passed. Eventually, we got married in a small ceremony. Nothing fancy, just a handful of friends and quiet promises. Today, we have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. Sometimes, when my daughter laughs a certain way, it reminds me of Emma so strongly, it almost knocks the wind out of me. And sometimes when Claire is standing in the kitchen with sunlight on her face, there are still moments where I see Laura for a split second. Not because they're the same person, but because life echoes like that. People sometimes think moving forward means leaving the past behind. It doesn't. I still love Laura. I always will. I still think about Emma almost every day. But I also love Claire and our children, and the life we built out of something that once felt completely broken. Grief and love live in the same place inside my heart now. 2 different lives, 2 different families, both real, both permanent, and somehow, both part of the same story.
And that's where this story ends. If you liked it, leave a like and subscribe to Ryan Rivers for more Reddit stories. See you in the next one.